Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 2:59 p.m. And as what we've always done these past days of the series of the seminars, we start on time. That's what professional people do. That's what people with character do. And thank you. Thank you very much to all of you who are here. You're punctual, you're professionals, you're ideal teachers. Congratulations. You're the kind of example that students should know about. uh, how lucky your students are to be in your class, because I can see that you are punctual, on time, and you're here. Thank you for joining us. May I know, can you please type in the chat box? One, if this is your very first session this week. Three, if this is already your third. Two, if you've attended so far two of our sessions this past week. Okay, hello, Jester, Ma'am Terry, three times already. We have two from Susan, from Marielle. Fantastic, great. Okay, let me see. There are some teachers who are just asking now for the link. I cannot understand why they have to ask already at 3:01 when the seminar should have already started. But just for their sake, let me just send them the link so that they can catch up and join us. Um, okay, here you go. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I know many of you are here because we want to learn strategies. And I have a lot of strategies to share with you about how to teach grit, resilience, and empathy. Strategies under each one. But our title says three essential virtues for the digital generation. And therefore, we will first talk about the digital generation. It's very important that you know anong nangyayari sa isipan ng mga kabataan ngayon. We have to know anong klaseng, anong tawag dyan, mindset, attitude, behavior, outlook ng mga kabataan ngayon, the digital natives. Yung estudyante nyo sa classroom ngayon, they don't know a world without cell phone, right? They don't know anymore a world without computer. They are the digital natives. So, we're going to talk about them, and then let's talk about paano natin sila tutulungan ma-develop ang grit, resilience, and empathy. Okay, to the first-timers who are attending today only, Teacher Norman, welcome. Mary Grace Joy, hello, welcome to you. Thank you for being with us. Ma'am Cecilia, hello. Teacher Norman, they are our first-time participants today. Okay, well, let me now share my screen and get straight into our discussion. Before I proceed, I'd like to know how our sound is. Can you please type 3 if the sound is perfect, it's okay. 2 if you want me to increase my volume. 1 if it's choppy and problematic and weak. Okay, okay, thank you. Practically everybody's typing 3. Only one type 2, Ma'am Anjanette. May nag-4. 3, 2, or 1 lang po. Okay, so 4 means talagang napaka-perfect. Even the... So I hope my signal is reliable because I am giving you this session from Iloilo City, here in the school that I started in 1992. I think the name is here, Paref Westbridge School. It's an all-boys school. Okay, let me just get to know also, before I proceed to the topic, where are you following the seminar from? What city or province are you from at this point where you are right now following our session? I know we have friends from Cebu. There you go. Manila, Laguna, Baguio. Hello po. I was just there last month. Antipolo, Cagayan de Oro. Nice to meet you here. Rizal, Cabuyao, Laguna, Cebu. Fantastic. So We are practically Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao in this session today. Quezon Province, hi Maria Charina Rodriguez, nice to see you here. Okay, thank you. So let's get straight into the topic, which is here, developing grit, resilience, and empathy, three essential virtues for the digital generation. For those of you who are first timers to join my seminar, um, just a little bit of an introduction. I have a double degree in AB journalism and literature, an MA in creative writing, and a PhD in literature from the University of Santo Tomas. And I've been a teacher, a classroom teacher for the last 34 years, 33 years. But the last 11 years, I've spent more time championing character formation kasi nakita ko nandito ang crisis. Ibang klase ang mga kabataan ngayon, ano? I mean, ibang klase ang kanilang mindset, attitude, discipline, values, nag-iiba. So, the last 11 years, I've been spending more time reaching out to fellow teachers like you, trying to remind everyone, ma'am, sir, let us make character formation a top priority because this is where the problem is. Our society needs to address the crisis in character. So aside from CEP, I also established Center for the Fourth and Fifth Hours Asia. Because our principle is bawat bata, bawat tao, aside from knowing reading, writing, arithmetic, should have respect and responsibility. The fourth and fifth R's. Respect and responsibility. That's what all my seminars are all about. We want to help the young people develop respect, responsibility. And sometimes I also call it the Thomas Licona Institute of Asia because Dr. Thomas Licona, my mentor, is the one who gave me this permission to use the Center for the Fourth and Fifth Hours for the Philippines, for Asia. Okay, so then let's proceed. Teachers, you are very important. You are very crucial in this task of forming character, molding minds, because ang lakas ng ating impluensya. We affect eternity. No one can tell where our influence stops. In fact, I think many of you here decided to become a teacher because of one teacher or another who inspired you, who molded you, who shaped you to be the person you are today. And that's why we realize that here's the problem. Teachers can affect people in a positive or in a negative way. I know some students who grew up to be full of resentments. Yan. Parang galit sa mundo, galit sa authority, all because they were terrorized by one teacher or another. But I have also met students who grew up to be highly motivated, highly successful, good men and women of character, thanks to great teachers who impacted their lives, who made them who they are today. So, let's keep that in mind. Kahit anong gawin nyo sa loob ng classroom, you are important, you are essential, you leave a mark. We all leave a mark on our students, especially among you who are teachers of basic education, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, preschool. Those kids inside your classroom are like wet cement. Whatever falls on them makes an impression. That's why I always say, now more than ever, this work of formation is urgent and important. And I'm going to run you through ano ang ginagawa ng mga kabataan ngayon, ano ang lifestyle ng digital natives, this digital generation. Well, kahit ano paman ang mundo, kahit ano paman ang iniikutan ng buhay nila sa gadget, sa technology, sa cellphone, sa computer, sa internet, we still want them all to be good and to do good. Di ba? And that is what a good educator does. hindi lang tayo nagtuturo ng subject. We don't just cover the curriculum. We shape the lives of our students because we want them to be good and to do good. Kahit anong subject ang tinuturuan nyo, ang tinuturo nyo. Even when it is difficult, and I think you will agree with me, grabe, ang hirap magpakabait ngayon, ano? Ang dami ng temptations para sa mga kabataan. Pornography is very easily accessible for them. Kahit grade 1 pa lang yung batang yan, kahit batang-bata pa yan, basta marunong na siya gumamit ng computer, he or she can be subjected to the most harmful pornographic images. Di ba? Meron tayong mga ganyang klaseng bata, 9 years old pa lang, and they can be subjected to. It's difficult, it's more difficult, especially now na ang mga bata ngayon, para bang the environment is making them selfish, self-centered, vain, soft. Yan. One of my talks that I give to parents is how to raise a son, a daughter of character in this environment that is manipulating them to be soft. So we want the young people to grow up to be smart and good, to do good and be good, even when it is difficult, even when no one is looking, and even when others are not, because they watch TV Patrol 24 oras, Channel 5, Action TV, and every day the news is about crime, criminality, dishonesty, cheating, lying, politicians attacking each other. That's what we see in the world today. Para bang, where is the goodness that we used to see among many people? So, develop grit, resilience, and empathy, the 3 essential virtues for the digital generation. Why do we need these 3 virtues in a special way? Because, let me show you, the digital generation, they are described by researchers as addicted to selfies. Ayan. Di ba, wala namang ganyan dati. Yung mga bawat kilos, kailangan magpa-picture. Pipicturean yung kanilang Starbucks, yung kanilang pizza pie, yung kanilang uh, para bang they have to let the world know themselves, their look, how they look like, their outfit of the day. Parang it's almost to the point of addiction. And they are in this world where, they go live in Facebook waiting for people to comment and to like and to say something like, ate, kuya, pa-shout out naman. I mean, parang, why? What's the point of that shout out? Young people who are being manipulated by Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all these social media, to get as many followers and to get as many likes. Para bang ito ang nagiging batayan kung gaano ka kahalaga. Ay, that's not right. I mean, it's not true that your value depends on how many followers you have or how many likes your post gets. That has nothing to do with value. We are children of God, the most beautiful of God's creations. It's not about having followers or likes. O kaya, di ba nagugulat ka minsan yung mga kabataan, nagpo-post sa Facebook or sa Twitter, "Hey guys, I'm here in Tagaytay. Any recommendation for a restaurant?" Yan, crowdsourcing ang tawag doon, And then some of us, we see it, we feel uneasy and we think, ano ba yan? Kumain ka kung anong gusto mong kainin, kailangan mo pa bang problemahin ang buong mundo sa problema mo kung saan kakain? But that's what you call crowdsourcing. And they use it because it's available for them. We might have used it if there was Facebook, Twitter, Instagram when we were younger. Or IMO, in my opinion. Parang they always have to let the world know their opinion about anything, about everything. That's the kind of world they live in. Pagbukas mo pa lang ng Facebook, tatanungin sa'yo, how do you feel today? What do you have in your mind? They have to let the world know about their feelings, feeling blessed, feeling happy, feeling sad, feeling upset, feeling angry. They have to let the world know how they feel. The world is manipulating them to think that they are the center of the universe. That's the kind of world the young people are living in. So no wonder they have this constant craving for connection. In fact, may kilala ko mga ganyang teenagers, ano, pag ang lakas ng wifi, aba, ang saya-saya nila. Pero pagka ang wifi nawala, bumagsak, nag-disconnect, aba, they are angry, they're upset, they're irritated, they curse smart and globe. So this is the world the young people are living in. Let's not blame them because they just happen to be born at this time and age. This textile trauma, dumadami yung mga bata nagrereklamo, bakit ang sakit daw ng ulo nila, ang sakit ng leeg. Oo nga naman, bakit hindi sasakit yung leeg mo? Buong Saturday, buong Sunday, dahil walang online class, dahil walang module, nakababa, nakaganyan yung ulo mo, nakatingin sa gadget. That's not normal posture of a human being. The normal posture of a human being is looking up, looking straight, looking forward. No wonder bibigat talaga yung sasakit yung leeg mo because when you tilt your neck like that, it's like there is a heavy weight on your neck. 60 pounds of pressure on the neck. So, you hear more and more young people complaining about, oh, bakit ako laging nahihilo, dizziness, neck pain, parang feeling stressed. Monday morning pa lang, hindi pa nga, umpisa pa nga lang ng linggo, parang pagod na sila. Tiredness, headache, all of these can be traced back to excessive digital lifestyle or excessive use of cell phone, gadget, tablet, computer. And as I said, itong environment, social media, it's fostering in them yung parang they have to be noticed. They have to be validated. They have to be entertained. That's the kind of world they are living in. And then, just to let you know, the young people today do not live for the moment. They live for the foment. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Tingnan mo sila pag nanonood ng concert or pag pupunta sa isang lugar, lalabas ang cellphone. Instead of admiring the beauty of nature, ay, lalabas ang cellphone kasi it's a moment for the phone. Yan. Manonood ng concert, nagbibideo. Bakit? Because they get more excitement when they post that video and their friends all of their friends get to know, uy, nandiyan ka pala sa concert ni Katy Perry. Ang lapit mo kay Taylor Swift. Yan. And then they start getting likes and comments, hearts, and shares. Nakakainggit. Sobrang swerte mo naman. Yan. That's when they get the bigger kick out of the experience. When they post it in Facebook, in Twitter, in Instagram, and the world get to know that they were there in that moment that is for the phone. And then yesterday, we were creating a kind and caring classroom, and there are kids who post things online na they will not say to a person face to face. Then why did you post it? Because of this anonymity of the screen. They develop a certain mindset na, my comment is just one of 10,000. Yung bashing that person. So, anonymity of the screen. The young people have to realize that there is such a thing as digital footprint, which practically, destroys their privacy. Someday, and I know some people who suffered learned this in a very hard way. Someday, mag-a-apply sila ng trabaho. And then, hindi sila tatanggapin because the HR officer, after the interview, will check yung kanilang Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, yung kanilang social media. And then we'll realize, uy, grabe pala tong taong to, palaaway, palaban, very foul-mouthed yung mga pinopost niya. And the HR officer will say, no, let's not hire. You see, they leave behind a digital footprint that may haunt them someday because that's how internet works. Itong babaeng to, nagpalit siya ng kanyang profile picture. 1 minute later, yung damit na suot niya sa profile picture, naka-advertise na doon sa Amazon, yung blouse for sale. The same dress, the same style that of the clothes she's wearing. Because that's how Google does things. Subukan nyo halimbawa, punta kayo sa cebupacificair.com. Ayan, coming here this morning, I had to take Cebu Pacific and I had to book my ticket. After booking your ticket, go to your Facebook. Aba, nagbook ako ng Manila Iloilo flight. Pagpunta ko sa Facebook, best hotels in Iloilo, sponsored ads. Binabantayan ng Google ang bawat kilos ko, and then will sell me things that they think I will need. There goes privacy. That's the kind of world that we are living in. And let me point out, actually, it's not just the kids. Sometimes I know some teachers, adults, professionals, who also fall into the trap. They go to bed, pero hindi pa inaantok. So what do? Ay, check ko muna yung Facebook ko. And they scroll, like here, comment there, heart there, and then refresh. Uy, ang daming bagong posts from their hundreds of friends. And before you know it, it's been an hour, 2 hours. You've been there. By the way, hindi ka aantukin doing that because the blue screen from the gadget is sending a signal to the brain that it is still daytime. You see, the computer, the screen, the tablet, the gadget, the cell phone, they emit a certain blue screen, certain blue light that is sending a signal to the brain that it is still daytime. That's why many times you will not you will not be sleepy while scrolling. And so what you need to do is turn off the gadget, close your eyes, and then you will be sleepy. Not bottomless, pointless, useless, mindless, endless scrolling. That's the kind of world we are living in. And all these are contributing to a crisis in character. The brain is being rewired with this kind of lifestyle, with this kind of environment, with this kind of mindset. The brain of the young people especially is being rewired. It's being fed fast food. That's why many young people today prefer to do research in TikTok, in YouTube, in Twitter, where you have limited characters, which as teachers, you and I should find absurd. We spent many hours reading books, encyclopedias, consulting scholarly articles to research, not TikTok. But that's the brain of the young person today, looking for shortcuts, the instant knowledge. And many times, those who sow disinformation, misinformation, fake news, precisely know that. That's why they use TikTok, YouTube, Twitter to spread lies. So we have to go against this. You see, all these are bringing about a crisis in grit, resilience, and empathy. We've even lost the art of handwriting. Kasi, yan, keyboard na ang gamit nila. Many of them don't know anymore. The long handwriting, they have lost the art of. And it's not going to disappear. I told you yesterday and 2 days ago, technology is here to stay. It's not going to go away. What we need to do is to train these young people in grit, resilience, and empathy, in hard work, in correct attitude, because we will continue hearing about all these disorders happening among many of them. Okay? We have to do our part because tayo ang adults, we are the teachers. They need us now more than ever. Ito yung gusto kong uulit-ulitin na ipaalala sa atin. Pag ang mga batang ito lumaking deformed in all these things, without grit, without resilience, without empathy, sino bang teacher nila? Tayo. While parents are supposed to be the ones really forming their character, molding their minds, but the parents, entrust their children to us in school, and the kids spend hours with us. So we have to own also the project. And yes, there will still be these disorders, these spells, headaches, eye strain, muscle pains, brain stress, cyberbullying, indecent exposures, sharing of nude pictures among girlfriend, boyfriend. Tapos pag gustong makipaghiwalay yung isa, sasabihin, o sige, ikakalat ko yung picture natin, yung picture mo, yung sex video. It's absurd. This is what we are seeing happening now. So we need to do our part, okay? That's why I want to teach you, before I go to grit, resilience, and empathy, you and I too need digital detoxification. Here's the reality, ma'am, sir, lahat ng sinabi ko tungkol sa mga bata, I think all of them are also true of some of us. We also need to detoxify ourselves of too much digital addiction. And I'm going to share with you 7 things, 7 strategies to be able to detoxify digitally. Some of you may actually say, Mr. Rentoy, ako I try to limit it. 10 minutes a day lang on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Yeah, pero yung 10 minutes na yan, you put it together, that's still 60 hours. And imagine what you can possibly do. 60 hours. That's a long time. That's a lot of books you can possibly read. That's a lot of growing professionally that you can, our sessions usually are 2 hours only. 5 seminars this week, that's only 10 hours out of 60 hours a year that we, instead of spending in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, can be spent better in growing as professionals. Okay, here's number 1. Turn off those notifications. Yung notifications na biglang lalabas sa cellphone mo, uy, somebody liked your post in Facebook, come back. Or somebody shared your post. Yun yung notification. It's like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, manipulating you, commanding you, balik ka, may nag-post, yung kaibigan mo nag-post ng bagong picture. It's like Facebook controlling you. Turn it off. You have to be the one to determine when you will go online, when you will log in to Facebook, not the other way around. Don't let the technology control you. You be in control of technology. And we can teach that also to the young people. Otherwise, they become enslaved by technology. Number 2, napansin nyo, minsan meron kang isang kaibigan, kahit anong i-post niya doon, naiinis ka. Naku, nag-post na naman ng picture ng baby niya. Naku, nag-post na naman ng picture ng yung tinapa na niluto niya. Napaka naman itong kaibigan. Well, if those feelings come whenever you see the posts of that friend, you know what? Siguro kailangan mong i-delete na lang or unfriend or unfollow or Ang dami mong options sa Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Or lalo na katatapos lang ng election, ano? 'Di ba meron ka mga kaibigan na yung pinoposts nila na iinis ka dahil iniinsulto yung kandidato mo. Well, don't you think life would have been better if you just deleted them, unfriended them, unfollowed them so that you will not have to be subjected to toxicity? Yan. You see, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, social media have so many options for you. You can delete, you can hide, you can mute. There's such a thing as mute. Learn it. You can block so that you really will never see those posts that upset you, that make you angry. You can even take a break, and then Facebook will ask you, how long do you want to take a break? A day, an hour, a week, or until you decide to to turn them on again, yung messages or posts ng kaibigan na yon. Unfollow so that they don't appear in your wall. Unfriend if you really get upset because of what you see the person posting. Yung ranting niya, yung kanyang mga complaints about yung kanyang parang know-it-all attitude. Okay, so unfriend, unfollow, take a break. There are many options, but please, remove all the toxicity you see around you. That's a good digital detoxification. Here's number 3. Teachers, the airplane mode is not just for the airplane. Okay? Airplane mode can also be dinner time, family time. I know many families, the may house rule during dinner time, no checking of cell phone, no answering text messages. It's family time. Prayer time is also airplane mode time. In other words, porket airplane mode nakasulat doon doesn't mean sa airplane lang gagamitin yon. No, sometimes I know some good people who even say to themselves, on Monday, I will not check Facebook. I will not even turn on the cell phone on Sunday from this time to this time because that's mass time. I will be going to mass. I'll be going to the Sunday services and I don't want to be disturbed. Airplane mode. It's not just for the airplanes. Number 4, what I mentioned earlier, there's nothing wrong with every so often telling yourself, this weekend, I will not go online. I mean, we survived many years na walang internet, na walang online activities. Hindi tayo mamamatay by not going online for a day or two, just to give ourselves a bit of rest. Kasi you think more about it, many times we get stressed out because of what we see being posted by our friends, what we receive in the Viber message, in the group chat of the teachers, problems that they, fake news even that they share, and attacks against people, against candidates, against politicians, against people. Give it a rest because you, as well as your gadgets, need rest. Number 5, laser focus. Develop a certain laser focus when we go online. Why am I going to go online? Kasi I need to get the contact number of this company. Okay, laser focus. Google it. Once you find it, out of the internet, because that's the only thing you went to the internet for. Kung walang laser focus, you remember what happens? You go online to check the contact number, let's say, of an institution. And then nandun ka na rin lang online, uy, may bago palang headline sa Rappler, sa Inquirer. Uy, I'll check my Facebook, sino kaya ang mga bagong nag-post. Uy, ano kaya ang score ng NBA game kahapon? And then before you know it, 1 hour has passed of surfing listlessly when you really just wanted to get a contact number, a phone number of an institution. Laser focus and then out. That's a good thing to develop as a form of digital detoxification. We can even ask ourselves every so often, will connecting at this moment really help me achieve my goals? There. Number 6, deepen connections. Instead of, well, this is the problem. This is the problem we see many times, right? You see a family going to a restaurant to eat. And then while waiting for the order to come, what are they doing? Are they talking? No. Each one to his own gadget, cell phone, tablet. Deepen connections means communicate, talk the way we used to talk before when there were no cell phones. Because the real happiness comes in relationship with people. And that friend in Facebook is not really real friend if we don't have real connection in real life. Number 7, the last tip for digital detoxification, embrace downtime. If one day the internet goes down, okay, embrace it. Don't get angry, don't get upset. It's not the end of the world, because the best things in life happen in real life, okay? Not online. So then let's talk about the first of the 3, grit, resilience, and empathy. Let's talk about grit. This became very popular thanks to the book of Angela Duckworth. And she suddenly became the authority in the world on grit. Well, okay. Let's try to understand. Ano ibig sabihin ng grit na yan? Sabi niya, grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Yung bang in spite of the difficulties that will come your way, along the way, challenges, difficulties, hardships, trials, let's go for our objective. That is grit. Never giving up, never saying never, never being bogged down by kung ano man ang ibato sa iyo ng buhay. No? Here are 5 characteristics of grit. And when we look at them, we start realizing, ay oo, ganyan nga ang ibig sabihin ng pagkakaroon ng grit. Number 1, courage. Which is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Kasi it's natural to have fears. The fear of failing, the fear of not getting what you want in the first attempt, the fear of lacking certain things you need. Pero that fear will not stop you. And that fear is not bad. That fear is a normal thing. It's very natural that we all have fears. The important thing is, in spite of the fear, we forge ahead, we continue on, hindi tayo susuko. That is courage. Number 2, conscientiousness, being thorough, being careful, or vigilant. So, conscientiousness means we are in the moment, we are in the present. Regardless of the problems that are here in the present, in the moment, we study what needs to be done so that we can overcome the difficulty, and then we look forward to the time when we are able to overcome it and to forge ahead, being conscientious. And then, of course, perseverance, which is very similar also to courage, to start and continue steadfastly on the path towards any goal that you set for yourself, that you set. Kahit na ang daming pagsubok, paghihirap, unexpected things that happen, we persevere to the end, not quitting at any moment. Resilience, we will talk precisely as the third major virtue. Grit, second major virtue, grit, resilience, and empathy. And grit is like a requirement for us to be able to practice resilience, which means the power to bounce back. Failures, there will be. It doesn't matter. The important thing is we stand up. Never mind if we make mistakes along the way. Resilience means we begin again and then we don't stop until we are able to reach our goal. Passion, deep sense of purpose. That's why nung Monday, inumpisahan ko yung series of these professional teachers talking about teachers, you play a very important role. You are not just there to cover the curriculum. You are not just there to teach a syllabus. We are here raising young people to become smart and good. That's a purpose. My purpose here in this world is to make people better human beings. You see, when people ask you, anong trabaho mo? Ay, wag mong sabihin teacher lang. Ang sabihin mo, I am engaged in the business of enhancing lives. That's what you are. That's what we teachers do. We are engaged in the business of enhancing lives, helping young people live a good life, not just now, not just to pass a quiz, not just to pass a test, but to have a good life until the end of their life here on earth. Here, I'll give you 7 strategies, 7 ways to develop grit in your children, in your students, in your kids today. Number 1, ignite their passion. Many teachers precisely are able to open the eyes of these young people to the excitement of science, to the excitement of taking care of the climate, of the world, of being passionate about defending freedom and justice and democracy. Social studies teachers, that's what you do. Many teachers are able to ignite the passion of the young people for creativity, to learn art, to learn literature, to write stories, to draw, to build, to... That's what we do. We ignite passion. And when you do that, you are developing in them grit, to the point that even if there will be difficulties, they will forge ahead, they will not give up. Second, teach self-control. Kahit anong subject ang tinuturuan ninyo, you may sometimes need to remind your students, okay class, exam natin next week ha, please, control naman muna yung mga pa-Netflix. Makakahintay ang episodes 5 to 20 ng K-drama nyo. After na ng exam kayo mag-movie marathon. Pero please, self-control ha. These next few days, prepare for our exam next week. You see, when teachers do that, they are developing grit among the students. And not just to easily give in to what they like, what they enjoy, what entertains them. Warn them to expect setback. Here's a very important thing. Teachers, we have to remind students that you cannot always be getting, sure, you are an achiever, but there may come a time when you will encounter difficulties even in your grades. That's not an abnormal thing. It can happen. But the important thing is to start again, to begin again, to catch up. Someday, biglang magkakasakit ka, mag-absent ka, and okay, that's a setback, but that's expected. In real life, it happens. Not every time what you want is what will happen. Expect setbacks. You see, kahit anong subject ang tinuturuan natin, we have to find a way of inserting these life lessons. Lessons they need for the rest of their life. Not just to pass a test, not just to pass a quiz, but to pass the test of life. Setbacks are as normal as the sun rising and the sun setting. Make a plan together, work things out with your child, with your students, with your kids. And in doing so, you teach them that, okay, this is our plan, but remember, sometimes things will not go according to plan. Yan. It's okay. It doesn't matter. The important thing is we are clear about where we want to go and what we want to achieve. That's adults helping these young people face the test of life, the reality of life, that sometimes things will not go according to plan. Another strategy, don't just announce the top five in the quiz or in the test. Many times, what we need to comment on are the effort being put in by students. They may not be 90s, 98, 99 score, but yung 85 na yan is a product of many nights of hard work of that student. Complement it. They have to see from us that we value more than the grade, the effort that they put in to a project, to a group work, to an exam. Complement effort. Don't just be focused on grades. Otherwise, what happens in some schools is students become grade conscious and they will resort to cheating because of the grades that they are targeting. The effort becomes secondary. No, what they have to realize is we especially want them to develop hard work, industry, uprightness, integrity, all of this effort that makes them develop the virtues, not necessarily simply the grade, the honors. And then tell them to stick to what's really important. Even in the way you give your assignment, make it very clear. Why am I asking you to do this assignment? It's not just for the grade. What is important here is that you study, you learn, you understand, you master what I want you to master, the essential knowledge that you want them to gain, the essential questions that you want them to be able to answer. Those are the things that really matter, not just the grade. And then to stick to what's really important. Otherwise, I repeat, they can become simply focused on being first honor, being valedictorian, even to the point of cheating and lying and stealing, cut and pasting, and being dishonest in their work. Show how to take care of body and mind. Grit is, aside from being mental, it's also physical. No? Sometimes the kids may not realize, but the reason why they feel weak, they feel incapable, is because, ay, syempre naman, kulang ka sa tulog. Lagi kang nagpupuyat sa yung Netflix, sa yung YouTube, sa yung TikTok. Kaya naman ganyan ang nangyayari sa'yo. You have to make sure that we make them aware of the importance of taking care of the body as well as the mind. So the grit will happen if the person is the expression of sound mind and sound body. The opposite of grit, the absence of grit, is despair, depression, di ba? And we are seeing and hearing more and more this problem among young people. They easily get depressed. They easily get discouraged. They quit, they give up. And the worst kind of giving up, they even think of suicide. It's very sad. We need to make them learn and understand and appreciate and work on developing grit if we are to see them succeed in life. Okay, let's now go to resilience. Similar to grit, which is not quitting, not giving up, persevering, forging ahead with courage. Resilience is also something similar, but especially when it comes to standing up after a fall, beginning again after a failure. Um, we need to make sure the young people develop this, because you and I should be very much troubled by news reports we hear of mental health becoming a major problem among many young people. Di ba ngayon meron pang mental health break. Ayan. Where the school tells you, okay, teachers, time out muna, time out. No online classes, no requirements. People need a break, mental health break. Aba, wala naman yan nung bata ako. Parang schools couldn't care less about may bagyo, may earthquake. Well, what can we do? We continue on trying to learn. We continue on with the requirements. We continue. Aba, ngayon kailangan magtawag pa ng mental health break. Resilience is something young people need to know, to develop, to practice, to grow in. So, let's try to understand ano ang ibig sabihin ng resilience. Here's the definition: the power to be able to recover readily from adversity or challenge. To be able to stand up even after a failure. In other words, it's the ability to bounce back, the art of bouncing back. And then, maybe not necessarily outright failure, but with a hardship and setback that is facing them or that they are facing in life, to be able to adapt. Teachers, you showed the way during this pandemic. Alam ko, hindi online classes ang training mo. We were not trained for online classes. That's not what we were prepared for. That's not what we learned in the School of Education. And yet, because of the pandemic, suddenly all of us were thrown into this online setup. Did we quit? No, we were resilient and we survived. We tried our best. Please be forgiving with yourself. I know some of you may be telling yourself sometimes, I did not teach as well. This past 2 years, I did not teach as well as I used to before the pandemic. Of course, this is like wartime. So please don't be harsh with yourself. Be forgiving with yourself because this is just not normal right now. Kahit anong pilit nating tawaging ito ang new normal, oh come on, deep inside you, deep inside all of us, alam natin, this is abnormal. Teaching online, modules, not seeing your students face to face, this is not normal. We will get back to the normal sooner than you can imagine. If not this coming school year, the year after next. But this is not forever. We will go back to the real normal. So please, if you think you have not been as effective as a teacher this past 2 years, it's okay. It's okay because things are just not as normal as they should be. But you are resilient. You did not quit. You did not give up. You continue teaching. Alam nyo, last year, inimbita ko ng isang eskwelahan sa Quezon City kasi may 3 silang teacher na nag-retire. Yung isa sa kanila, sabi niya, every time she would be in front of the computer to do online classes, magkakaroon siya ng hypertension. Yung blood pressure niya mag-shoot up. She will have perspiring cold sweat like that. Ano? And she said, wala, online teaching is just not for me. So she opted for retirement. You see, some people have not been able to cope, have not been able to survive it, but you did. You are surviving. I congratulate you for that. And I thank you for the big sacrifices you're putting in. And believe me, you are teaching the students resilience, not through your words, but through your action, through your life, through the fact that you did not give up, you continue doing your best. That is what it means to be resilient, adapting to the hardships and setbacks in life. Okay, so you are masters of bouncing back, the art of bouncing back. Huwag niyong maliitin yung effort, yung paghihirap, yung sakripisyo na nilagay ninyo sa pagtuturo nitong 2 taong nakalipas. Someday, I tell you, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, yung mga estudyante nyo sa online, sa modules, will look back to these 2 years or even 3 years, and they will say, dun nila natutunan what it means to sacrifice, to work hard, not to give up, not to quit. Kikwento nila sa kanilang kaibigan, sa kanilang mga anak, sa kanilang mga apo, alam mo, there was a time when we did this. And then yung mga apo, hindi makapalit. Talaga? Online? Grabe. Tapos, you stood your ground and you bounced back in spite of the hardships, the trials. Okay, so what is resilience? It also means being able to develop in a normal way under difficult conditions like the pandemic, like the lockdown. You see, you have shown with your life, with your example, what it means to be resilient. That's why resilience can be considered as an outcome. That's what they become. And at the same time, it's a process. It's an ongoing thing that you continue on in spite of the setbacks and the hardships, in the face of adversities, in the face of challenging situations. Resilience, qualities which cushion a vulnerable child from the worst effects of adversity in whatever form it takes, and which may help a child or young person to cope, survive, and even thrive in the face of great hurt and disadvantage. Something may be coming to your mind. Resilience is what many young people today need, especially if they come from broken families, for example, right? I mean, you have seen how a kid suffers kasi inabando na sila ng tatay. Sumakabilang bahay ang nanay. May iba nang kinakasama ang tatay. We are seeing more and more of situations like this. And if the boy, the girl, if the child, if the son or daughter do not have resilience, they go haywire. They do crazy things in their life. They get into scandal videos. We see it many times. If a student starts acting in a very bad way, becoming a bad influence, bad example, and then you try to interview, you try to get to know more, ay, kaya naman pala nagre-rebelde yan. The family has broken apart. He's a product of broken family. Nagre-rebelde kasi ang tatay niya, inabandon na sila. Now, please don't get me wrong. I have met some children who are products of broken homes but grew up to be fantastic men and women. They managed to have resilience thanks to the single parent who heroically did all her best, all his best. Or there were other support system that got in place or that went in place. For example, the tito took over the absentee dad and did a good job. The cousins were there to support. So that's, I'm going to mention that in fact in a while. Paano natin matutulungan itong mga batang ito, halimbawa, na dumadaan sa malaking paghihirap, sa malaking pagsubok sa kanilang buhay? Maybe it's not because the parents separated. Maybe it's the mother died, the father passed away, the mother left for Hong Kong because OFW, the father went to Saudi, Dubai, because they want to give a better life to the family. Pero absentee parent will demand greater resilience on the part of the child. Keep calm, have resilience. Research findings about resilience Sabi ng research, resilient children are better equipped to resist stress and adversity, cope with change and uncertainty, and to recover faster and more completely from traumatic events or episodes. That is how great this virtue of resilience is. That lalaking mabuti, mahusay, magaling ang bata kahit na napakalaki ng kanilang pinagdadaanan sa buhay, napakalaki ng problemang biglang nilagay sa kanilang balikat, no? In other words, that they don't just give up, even if the going gets really tough. That's why it's important to have resilience. So now let's go to, sige nga, Ms. Rentoy, paano ba natin kasi matutulungan itong mga batang ito? Kasi ang dami kong ganyang estudyante. Okay, some of you may be saying that, totoo yan, Mr. Rentoy. Minsan nga, meron akong klase, kalahati sa kanila galing sa broken families, broken homes. How can we help them? Okay, sabi ng research, 3 key protective factors are important. Number 1, at least one secure attachment relationship. It may be the single parent, or as what happens many times in some families, the grandmother, the grandfather play a more important role of magpapalaki sa bata. Sila ang magtuturo sa bata, will give encouragement, will give protection of secure, loving relationship. In other words, kahit na, halimbawa, nawala ang nanay o nawala ang tatay, hindi bali na, nandyan ang mga lolo at lola na hindi hahayaang mag-isa ang bata. There is at least one secure attachment relationship. Number 2, access to wider supports, such as, like what I already gave as an example, extended family and friends. May kilala akong ganyan, high schooler, tapos yung parents naghiwalay, ang kanyang naging sandigan, the one that he was able to count on is a friend. A friend who is more mature, a friend who may have also gone through the same tough times, difficulties, but was there to provide support. Or number 3, dito na tayo papasok, ma'am, sir, teachers, we can also provide that positive nursery, school, and or community experiences. And you know it. Some of you may have experienced it. I have experienced it in my 34 years as a teacher inside the classroom. Sometimes the student opens up to you because he or she sees in you the father or the mother that he or she does not have or does not experience at home. And then sa inyo, naghahanap ng yung pagmamahal na hindi nila nakita or nahanap or nakuha sa bahay. And sometimes you don't even realize it. You may not even realize it. But that is the kind of impact that we, teachers, actually, as I said, even unknowingly give our students, the children inside our classroom. So let's build resilience, okay? We have to build resilience because life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient. Before I get into what can we do, especially, no, kasi nga ito yung mga pinagdadaanan ng mga kabataan ngayon. What can we do in order to help develop resilience among our students in whatever subject you're teaching? But it's been an hour I've been talking, and as I have been doing, I would like first to, I'm going to pause our recording. Okay, so let's talk about how can we build resilience inside the classroom. We've seen its importance. We've seen what it means to be resilient. We see the crisis in resilience. What can we do? Here are 5 ways to build resilience inside the classroom. And as you are going to see, regardless of what subject you are handling. You can insert, you can use the strategy, find a way of adapting to the subject that you are teaching. Number one, you can build resilience by promoting self-reflection through literary essays or small group discussions. So ito, ang gagamitin mo is reading materials. Sa literature, of course, very clearly, ang daming pwedeng pabasa sa kanila, and then they will discuss that will bring out the lessons on resilience and being able to cope and being able to, okay? For example, heroicimagination.org is a website that contains many, many reading materials, stories, things that you can use to make the students discuss, read, reflect. Yesterday, pinag-usapan natin yung reflection. It's one of the things many young people today do not do anymore, reflecting. So, in the reading material, in the discussion, students, for example, can be asking these questions. Who was the hero in this story? Now, literature, pwede rin i-apply yan sa science. You talk about scientists and their life and their contribution. They are the hero in that story. Why? Because the scientist did not give up, because the scientist, even if his experiments failed repeatedly, persevered, and did not stop until he is able to get the perfect formula. No? So, in other words, this is not just for literature. This is not just for it can be used for science. It can be used definitely for social studies, history, where you talk about historical characters who made a difference, who made the war successful, or the battle in this or that part of history a success. What challenge or dilemma did the hero, did the scientist, did the mathematician, did the character in the book that you are making them read overcome? What challenge or dilemma did the hero overcome? And then, what personal strengths did the hero possess? What choices did he or she have to make? You see, when the young people reflect on these things, they cannot but apply it to their life. So ganun pala, I will also have to practice the same virtue, strength, when I am confronted with my own problems. How did other people support the hero? What did the hero learn? And then applying it personally now. How do we use the same personal strengths when we overcome obstacles in our own lives? Can you share some examples? So making them read and then reflect and then discuss in groups, and then perhaps they will share it to the rest of the class. I love making students do small group discussions like that with 3 or 4 members. Why 3 or 4? Because one will take note, one will make a report, one will answer questions, and then one will prepare the visual aids. In other words, every single one of them has a concrete task to fulfill. Or 3 lang, because one will report, summarize, one will do the written form, and then one will be ready to answer questions. So that's number 1. Here's number 2. A second way of building resilience. Yung kanina, encouraging reflection by reading and discussing. Ito ngayon, make them write. Encourage reflection through personal essays. Susulat sila ngayon when they do journal writing, when they do reflection writing. For example, the question like this: write about a person who supported you during a particularly stressful or traumatic time. How did they help you overcome this challenge? It's a reflection that they will have to do. Again, you can apply this to science. This is Thomas Edison. What did you learn from his struggles applying to your own life? So, from the stories of mathematicians, scientists, characters in novels and in books and in short stories that they read, characters in history, they apply those lessons into their own life and ask themselves, how were we supported? How did we go about facing the problem? What did you learn about yourself? Or if it's not, sometimes kasi some people are not too, they don't find it easy, no, to open up or to share inside them what is inside them. Okay, then how about a friend of yours that may have gone through something like that, that you supported, that you helped, going through a stressful problem, a stressful event? What did you do that most helped that friend? And then in doing that, what did you learn about yourself? So all these are reflections that are meant to, because you see, resilience has to come from within. You cannot impose that. Be resilient. No, no. They have to be the ones to say, I have to be resilient. I have to fight this. I have to struggle and I have to win the war. I have to be able to bounce back. I have to be able to begin. It's a personal thing. That's why we need to make them reflect on these questions that will make them make up their mind to be resilient, to bounce back, to stand up, and not to give up. Okay, number 3, help children and their parents too learn from student failures. You see, kahit anong subject na binibigay mo, the chances are may isang bata, may dalawa, minsan nga in some subjects, ang daming babagsak, ano? That is a very important learning moment. A very important teaching moment for you and a very important learning moment for the student. But students and parents have to know, have to understand, have to accept that failure is not the end of the world. That failure is not totally evil. I want you to read this article, for example. The title is Why Parents Need to Let Their Children Fail. Because many times in life, it's the failures that teach us the best lessons. I repeat that. Sometimes in life, it's the failures that teach us the best lessons. In other words, sometimes failure may be the best teacher. Okay? One of the most tragic things we teachers experience is may student na bumagsak. Aba, dadating ang nanay sa eskwelahan. Hahanapin ka, ma'am. Tatanong sa iyo, ma'am, explain why my son failed. Parang gusto mong magalit, ano? Gusto mong mainis. Pero hindi, kailangan mong kausapin. And then to make them realize, ma'am, alam mo, tinulungan kong anak ninyo, pero hindi siya nag-aral, he just did not do his part. Pero pagka ang nanay sasabihin, no, give my son another exam. When the parent does that, he or she is doing the worst thing to the child. It's like protecting them, no, from the harsh realities of life. Someday, the son will encounter failure in life, and the parents will not be there anymore to shield them from the harshness of life and from the difficulties of life. They don't know how to cope. They will not know how to cope. So, what parents instead need to know, need to learn and understand is they have to help their child bounce back, be resilient, begin again, and put in the effort. And I know in life, in the many years I've been inside the classroom, sometimes it's a failure in one quiz or long test or a quarterly exam that made the student become the best student he can possibly be. because sasabihin niya sa sarili niya, I have to begin again. I cannot afford another failure. So for us teachers, here are things that we can do para to strengthen that lesson about failure. Create a classroom culture where failure, setbacks, and disappointment are unexpected and honored part of learning. That it's not the end of the world. That sometimes that losing the game in the intrams, not winning in the sabayang bigkasan, that may be giving your class the more important lesson about life, about what it means to not give up and not to quit even in the face of failures and difficulties. Second thing, establish and reinforce an atmosphere where students are praised for their hard work, perseverance, and grit, and not just for grades and easy successes. Well, we talked about this earlier. Compliment effort more than just the grades. Otherwise, they just become grade conscious and it's counterproductive. No, those of you who have been inside the classroom for long, you know how bad it is kung ang bata lumaking grade conscious lang. Hold students accountable for producing their own work, efforts from which they feel ownership and internal reward. And then educate and assure parents that supporting kids through failures builds resilience. One of the best developmental outcomes that they can give their children. Okay, let's go to number 4. Bring discussions about human resilience into the classroom. Kahit anong subject ang tinuturo nyo, hanapin ninyo yung mga importanteng tao na yon na pwede nyong pag-usapan sa loob ng classroom. And I gave you already some examples. In history, many historical characters. Many characters throughout the study of history, Philippine history, world history. There are many characters there that we can highlight. You see, this guy did not give up until he was able to win freedom for his people, until he was able to fight for justice. Or I mentioned about mathematicians, scientists who may have failed in the experiments. Kahit anong subject ang tinuturo natin, hanapin natin yung mga role models that we can present to the young people or that we can talk about. And if you cannot find, then sometimes you just have to talk about the headlines of the day in order to bring out resilience. And that is not a waste of time. Some of you might think, ay, sayang ang oras para sa math kung pag-uusapan ko yung headline kahapon tungkol dun sa dinakip ng police na politician na no, because that is a very relevant thing to the students today. And really, I tell you, the world will continue moving on even if you have to pause a bit to talk about some very important issues just to bring out lessons on character, values, resilience. So whatever subject we are teaching, I'm sure you can find those role models of resilience to discuss, to talk about inside the classroom. And then number 5, build supportive relationships with students. Students should see that you are their cheerleader, that when they fail, you are there encouraging them, motivating them. And if they do well, you are there to cheer them and to say, I'm proud of you, I'll keep it up, good job. That's what it means to. Okay, let's go to the last. We are down to the last 25 minutes of our session. The third, empathy, which is in crisis because of digital lifestyle, especially among the young people today. Identifying with and feeling other people's concerns. But if they don't talk with other people because the whole day they're just with their tablet, the cell phone, the gadget, then they don't develop empathy. That's why it's in crisis. Here are signs of empathy. Paano mo masasabi na ang bata may empathy? When people with empathy are able to say this, you look upset. You see, kaya nilang basahin ang feelings, emotions of other people. I understand how you feel. That is empathy. I'm sad that you got hurt. They're able to share feelings with others. That happened to me too once. It makes me feel sad for you. Yeah, in the real sense of the word, ganyan ang empathy. My heart is racing. I feel like I want to. They're able to share the joy, the excitement of other people. I'm happy for you. I bet it hurts a lot. It happened to me. All these are what people with empathy are able to say. And then, well, effectively, these are what people with empathy do. They notice when others are hurting and they feel for them. Naiiyak sila pag may nakita silang isang bata, isang tao, isang kaibigan na naiiyak din, na umiiyak. They walk up to console others in pain. That's what a person with empathy would do. They comfort another because they understand the hurt of the person. They feel excited for others. They wins when they see the hero get hurt in the movies, in what they're reading, the novel. They talk soothingly to those in pain. They mirror, copy the facial expressions of the distressed person. All these are what it means to have empathy. So there are 3 steps to take if you are to develop empathy among the young people, among your students, in others. Number 1, foster awareness and build an emotional vocabulary. Number 2, enhance the sensitivity of the feelings or sensitivity to the feelings of others. And number 3, develop empathy for another person's point of view. So, umpisahan natin sa una, step 1. Dapat ang mga bata aware what it means to have empathy. And how do we develop that? How do we do that? Build an emotional vocabulary. Because Facebook is manipulating them to think na there are only sad, happy, angry. Di ba? Yun lang yung lumalabas na emojis. But there are really many. And the more they know of emotions, the more vocabulary words they have of emotions, then the more sensitive they are. For example, let me show you 2 pages of words that describe emotions. Of course, maliit ang letter. Let's zoom in. And this is just page 1 under letter A. You see, afraid, agitated, alarmed, angry, anxious, apprehensive. Under letter C, confused, content, critical, cross, curious, cynical. How many of these do you yourself know or can describe? Fatigued, fearful, fidgety, frightened, frustrated, funny, furious. Let's go to the middle part of that page. Bashful, bewildered, bitter, bored, brave, calm, caring. Under letter D, disgusted, distressed, disturbed, feeling down. Letter H, happy, hassled, hateful, helpless, hesitant, hopeful. And then going down to the 3rd part of that page, yan, eager, edgy, embarrassed, encouraged. How many of these words do your students know? The more of these words they know and understand, the more empathetic they will be. The more they can feel for others. And that's only page 1. Here is page 2. And zooming in, look at the different emotions under letter I, under letter P, under letter S. Okay, just take a look at the words. And then, second part of that, middle part of that page, sorry. How many of these do our students know? And then finally, the lower part of page 2, sad, safe, scared, secure, sensitive, shaky, shocked. The more of these words your students know, chances are the bigger, the greater their empathy would be. Well, as I mentioned earlier, as I say students, you also now ask, how many of these words do I as a teacher know? Can I as a teacher detect? That will answer the question, how about you? How well have you developed your empathy? So let's develop their vocabulary as a step one. Chances are we will be able to get them to be empathetic, to have greater empathy. Here's step two, enhance sensitivity to the feelings of others. We can make them be more sensitive to the feelings of others. Here are 6 simple ways to nurture kids' sensitivity. By the way, the strategies I talked about earlier can also be used to develop sensitivity. When you talk about characters in literature, in history that displayed sensitivity to the feelings of others, are able to feel for the country, you talk about them, you are developing sensitivity of your students. So here are 6 simple ways. Praise, sensitive, kind actions. You see, kahit anong subject ang tinuturuan natin, when we do these things inside the classroom, noticing the sensitive, kind actions of our students, and we praise the action, not the student. Praising the action, not the person. That's fostering sensitivity. Show the effect of sensitivity. Draw attention to non-verbal feeling cues. You see that emotions may not necessarily be expressed only through words. Sometimes non-verbal feeling cues. Ask often, how does he feel? How do you think the character feels? How do you think this scientist must have felt after failing repeatedly in the experiment? Always bringing up the subject matter of feeling. And then use the formula feels plus needs. Every time there is a feeling, there is usually a need that goes with it. The feeling of anger, there is a need to be consoled. The feeling of loneliness or sadness, there is a need to be accompanied. The feeling of joy and happiness, they need to share it. They need to express it. They need to let others know. Feelings and needs always come together. Number 6, share why you feel the way you do. Okay, class, I am afraid of the coming exam because you have not been doing well in the quizzes I've been giving. That's strengthening the sensitivity of your students. So please start studying now, because I'm afraid if you do not study as what I have seen in the quizzes, you will not have an easy time. Or I am afraid because I have been seeing low grades. What do you need? What support do you need so that you are able to catch up? And for all you know, maybe they just need you to repeat the lesson. Maybe they did not understand it and they need you to explain it better, more clearly, or find other ways by which they will be able to understand. Okay, now, sabi natin kanina, there is such a thing as nonverbal cues. Well, here are 5 fun ways to help kids read nonverbal emotions. For example, play the game charades. You know how to play the game charades. And this time, the words na huhulaan nila is yung listahan kanina na pinakita ko ng napakaraming vocabulary words of emotions. How do they dramatize it? How do they show it? How do they express it? That's developing nonverbal emotions. Make comic mood characters. You know, papakat out mo sila. Okay, here are list of 10 emotional words. Hanap kayo ng cartoon character from comics, from newspapers that display each one of them, making comic mood characters. Read with feeling. Yan, especially mga grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, they find this activity fascinating, funny. And you will read, for example, Jack and the Beanstalk happily. Now we will ask Joanna to read it sadly. How will Jack and the Beanstalk story sound if it is read sadly? If it is read excitedly? If it is read scarily? Reading with feelings. Number 4, watch silent TV. You know, you make them watch a scene from movies, turn off the volume, and then make them guess, now, what do you think is the feeling of this character? Tingnan nyo, galit na galit. So, what do you think is he feeling at that moment? And what is the reaction of the other characters? No volume, no sound. You just read body language based on the silent movie or the silent TV. And then number 5, hold a feeling lookout. Make the students, for example, go to the window and then may dumadaan na that guy in red t-shirt, what do you think is his feeling? Why do you think he looks excited? Does he look like he just came from a job interview? And do you think he got the job? So reading feelings of others through the actions or through the nonverbal cues that they show. And kids love activities like that. And yet the effect in them is they become more sensitive to feelings. Okay, well, we are down to the last step 3. In order to develop empathy for another person's point of view. In other words, making them see things from the perspective of another person, of another, of a friend, of a third person. And here are 3 simple ways I want to share with you. We're about to finish our session. We're down to this last part. 3 simple ways to increase children's ability to take different perspectives. Okay, I hope I didn't lose my connection. There's just suddenly power interruption here in the room. Okay, here's number 1. Let me just, okay. Number 1, switch roles to feel the other side. Switch roles to feel the other side. For example, you make students usually do debates, no? Okay. You usually make students do debates. Surprise them. After the debate, you make them switch roles, switch sides, and tell them to prepare a defense. Well, that will surprise them. And then they realize that's true. There are 2 sides usually to an issue. Number 2, walk in my shoes. Oops. Okay. Let me see. I hope I'm not losing my signal. Okay, so walk in my shoes. Sometimes literally, some teachers would make students walk in my shoes. For example, okay, for our reporting on the national heroes, you're not just going to deliver a report. You will come as Jose Rizal. You will come to class, pretend that you are Apolinario Mabini, and then deliver your report in first person narrative. And then you, as Gregoria Silang, you will talk about what you did during the war, during the fight for justice and liberty on a first person basis. Walk in my shoes perspective. And then number 3 is imagine how the person feels, making the students take the perspective of others. Okay, so then classroom discipline that builds empathy, call attention to insensitive, uncaring behavior. You see, because sometimes we need to discipline. Sometimes we need to, I mean, not sometimes, but all the time we need to manage the class. And so we can do that by following this, calling attention to insensitive, uncaring behavior. Ask, how would you feel if they put themselves in that situation? Recognize the consequences of the behavior, and then express and explain your disapproval of the insensitive actions. So those are the different steps to build empathy through disciplining. Okay, so we empathy especially is a very, very important virtue among the three. I would put it as the more important one. And this book of Dr. Michelle Borba is a very good reference if you want to go deeper into other strategies. Well, let me end by pointing out, sorry, I'm not going to talk about these 7 essential. Okay, we are ending. These are the closing quotations now. Aristotle taught people do not naturally become morally excellent or practically wise. They become so, if at all, only as the result of lifelong personal and community effort. What we did here today in this seminar is to give us ideas on how we can develop grit, resilience, and empathy, and all of us as teachers to be conscious about the need, more than just making our students smart, but especially good, able to survive all these trials that they see in their life today, all the challenges that are facing them. Okay, let me stop recording.